Hello, dear students. My greetings to you. Now, after a long gap due to the unprecedented crisis in the country, and in order to make the laws, academic laws, now we have to resort to this means of teaching. Now, this series of lectures on estimation and costing will continue, and rest of the syllabus, that is unit 3 and 4, will be covered by these video lectures. As you know, we have already covered 3 units, partially of course, and we will also try to cover the remaining part. But we start with 4th unit of estimation and costing. This 4th unit is about valuation of building. So in this lecture, our objectives will be, at the end of the lecture, you will be able to understand the meaning of valuation. That is, what do you understand by valuation of civil engineering structures? Another objective would be to understand the purpose of valuation. That is, why do we value, or why do we make valuation? And third objective would be to learn the terminology related to valuation. Now, there are specific terms used in the process of valuation. These are very important terms, and these are very technical terms, and you should give proper attention in learning and understanding these terms. Okay, now let's start with the definition of the valuation. Now, what is valuation? What do you understand by valuation, and why do we need the valuation? As you know, now valuation, as the term suggests, valuation is to determine the value, the present value of any civil engineering structure. So you can define it. The valuation is the technique of estimating or determining the fair price or value of property, such as building, a factory, other engineering structures of various types, land, etc. So this is the definition which focuses on the present value of a property. That means you must differentiate it with another term which is known as cost. Okay, so when you differentiate between value and cost, you will understand the meaning of valuation. By valuation, the present value of a property is defined. The focus is on the present value of a property. So the present value of property may be decided by its selling price. So valuation means present value, or you can say saleable value, and the saleable value is decided by its selling price or income or rent it fetches. And this value or this present value depends upon different factors. It depends upon the type of structure. It depends upon the life of the structure, how the structure is maintained, whether it is well maintained or it is not maintained properly. And the important point is where it is located. That means its location. If any structure which is located at a prime location, it will definitely fetch a handsome value. But if a structure, even if it is very high quality construction, and it will not fetch a good price if it is not located properly. Moreover, the valuation or the value of any structure also depends upon the bank interest on it. That means how much interest is being returned to the bank, and of course the legal control. That means if there is any legal issue, then nobody wants to be involved in a disputed land or disputed property. So these are the factors on which the valuation depends. So now you know what is valuation. Now if we talk about the cost, now cost means original cost of construction or purchase. That means what is the original cost of construction, or if the property is purchased, then what is the investment, what is the total cost, or what is the total amount that you pay. That is the cost of the property. So saleable value may be more or less than the cost. You must remember, the saleable value may be more or less than the cost of the structure. For example, if any property is costing 50,000 rupees, then its value may be more than 50,000 or its value may be less than 50,000, because valuation or the value of a property depends on many factors. Now we come to the second topic, that is the purpose of valuation. As a civil engineer, why do we need to value a property? What is the need of the valuation of a property? Now there are different purposes. Here, as you see, we have underlined the headings or the purposes. Number one, that is buying or selling property. When it is required to buy or to sell a property, its valuation is required. For example, if you want to buy a property, then you are definitely want to know what is the price that you are paying for purchasing that property. And in the same way, when you are going to sell a property, then you must know the value of the property. Second thing is, or second purpose is taxation. Any property which is located within a municipal board, it is the tax is imposed on that property. to assess the tax of property, its valuation is required. Taxes may be, municipal tax, wealth tax, property tax, and all taxes are fixed on the valuation of the property. Then, third purpose is rent fixation. Now, there are different purposes of buying or making a property, and one of the important function of a commercial property is the earning through the rents. So how would you fix the rent if you are going to give that property on rental basis? Then how would you fix the rent? Now again, the rent is fixed based on the valuation of that property. Highly valued property may fetch a good rent, but if the value of a property is not high, then you are not going to get a good rent. So in order to determine the rent of a property, valuation is required. Rent is usually fixed on certain percentage of valuation. Normally it is 6 to 10% of the valuation. Then next purpose is the security of loans or mortgage. That means, suppose you want to put your property on mortgage to a bank for securing a loan, for getting a loan, then bank definitely required to know the value of the property. Based on the valuation of the property, the loan is sanctioned. So this property is mortgaged as a security against the loan, and for that purpose its valuation is required. Then compulsory acquisition. Now, whenever a property is acquired by law, compensation is paid to the owner. Now there are cases, suppose we are having highway projects and we want to broaden the highway, we want to convert the 4-lane highway to the 6-lane, then we require some property, we require more space. So in that case we have to acquire the land, and the landowner has to be compensated. Now how would you compensate or what value or what money are you going to give to the landowner? It will be based on the valuation of the acquired property. And then valuation of property is also required for insurance and many other purposes like betterment charges, etc. Now we come to the various terminologies. After going through the valuation, definition of the valuation and the purpose of valuation, now you must understand how to find the value of a property. Now valuation or the process of valuation will be understood when you understand these technical terms properly. So it's important to learn these terms. So we start, there are around 15 or 16 terms that we are going to cover in this lecture. We start with the first term, that is the gross income. Now, as you know, gross means total income. That means total income that a property fetches or brings is known as the gross income. Now, it includes all receipts. All receipts means if it is, mainly the income, source of income is uh, rent. So, but we are also having some expenses. Okay. So, the total income from all receipts from various sources will be known as the gross income. And in this, the expenses, all the expenses, that means all outgoings and the operational and collection charges are not deducted from the total income. So that is the gross income. Now, next is net income or net return. So out of total income or gross income, we deduct all the outgoings, operational and collection expenses from then what we get the net income or net returns. So amount left after deduction of all outgoings and operational and collection expenses, it is known as the net income. Then sinking fund, of course, that we wanted to discuss it later, but anyway, on the slide it has come earlier, so we'll discuss it now. What is sinking fund? As the name suggests, sinking is the fund that we have invested a lot of money in acquiring the or in construction of the property. So a certain amount of gross rent is set aside annually as sinking fund. For what? To accumulate the total cost of construction when the life of the building is over. Because when the life of the building is over, the owner must accumulate the amount that he has invested in the construction of the property. So, if this sinking fund is not set aside, then what will happen? At the end of the life of the structure, the owner will have neither property and nor its income from it. So sinking fund is an important fund, and we should know how to find out the sinking fund. This annual sinking fund is taken as outgoings. Now, another term is scrap value. What is scrap value? As you know, at the end of the utility of the building, at the end of the utility life of the building, its value, or you can say it is dismantled. So scrap value is the value of the dismantled material. That means after dismantling the building, what we get? we get the steel, we get brick, we get timber. And in case of machines, of course, the valuation is not only of civil engineering structures. Every discipline or every branch of engineering is having uh, different types of product. Like mechanical engineering, they are manufacturing a machine, and machine is also having a certain life. So in case of machines, the scrap value is metal or dismantled parts. In general, the scrap value is about 10% of the total cost of construction. Normally, it is taken as the 10% of the total cost of construction. So scrap value, how would you find out the scrap value? Sale of usable material minus cost of dismantling and removal of the rubbish material. That means not only the material, the cost of material is there. That means dismantled material is having certain cost, but the cost of dismantling and removal of the rubbish material is to be deducted. That will give you the net scrap value. And this sometimes the scrap value uh, is negative also. Sometimes the scrap value is negative also. For example, if we are having a building in which the uh, most of the material is concrete, then whatever we get after dismantling, this metal materials might be having steel, and it may be having you know uh, construction waste like concrete. But the cost of dismantling and disposing the waste material or the rubbish material is more than the cost of the dismantled material. So in that case, the scrap value would be negative. Another term is salvage value. What is the salvage value? Now, it is the value of the material at the end of the utility period without being dismantled. Any property which has its life over, that means when its utility period is over, for example, a building which is having a life of 50 years. After 50 years, it may not be totally useless, and it might not be dismantled. So at the end of the utility period, without dismantling the structure, what is the saleable value of that structure? That is known as the salvage value. For example, for a machine which has its utility over, then it can be sold at a value without dismantling it. The cost may not be good, but it can be sold. So that value will be known as the salvage value of them. So any uh, machinery or any structure which is at the end of the utility period, the value that it fetches is known as the salvage value. Now, market value. What is the market value? The market value of a property is the amount which can be obtained at any particular time from the open market if the property is put for sale. So there are two things. One is the value at any particular time, and another is from the open market. So if any property is put to sale at any time, what is the value at that particular time? It may not be the same at other time. As you know, we are always talking about the recession. So that time, if you are going to sell a property, it may not bring a good value. So whatever market value is there, it may be less or it may be more than the construction cost. The market value will differ. So market value will differ from time to time according to demand and supply. This value changes from time to time for various reasons such as change in industry, change in fashion, means of transport, cost of material and labor, etc. Now, book value. Now, book value is the amount, as the name suggests, the amount which is shown in the account books after allowing necessary depreciation. So there is another word here, that is depreciation. Depreciation means there are two terms. One is depreciation, another is its opposite is appreciation. When there is increase in the value of the property, then the value is supposed to be appreciated. Suppose, or you can say its value is known as appreciation. But when the value of the property gets reduced over time, then it is known as depreciation. So book value is the amount shows in the account book, number one, but after allowing necessary depreciation. So in accounting terminology, this depreciation is annual depreciation. Certain percentage of the total cost is applied to find out the depreciated value. So book value is the value which is shown in the account book, and that value is shown after getting or after putting the depreciation, after calculating the depreciation. The book value of property at a particular year is the original cost minus the amount of depreciation here. At the end of the utility period of the property, the book value will be only scrap value, because at the end of the utility period, what will you get? You will get only the scrap value. Okay. Now, next term is the rateable value. Now, what is the rateable value? Rateable value is the value, or you can say the rateable value is the net annual letting value of a property, which is obtained after deducting the amount of yearly repairs from the gross income. That means uh, any structure after construction, we have to set aside certain amount as the repair charges. After 2 or 3 years, the annual repairing is required to maintain the property. So, what is the net annual letting value of a property? Net annual letting value of property will be the total rental value minus yearly repairs. So municipal and other taxes are charged at a certain percentage on the rateable value of the property. That means when the taxes, municipal and other taxes are calculated, they are calculated or they are charged on the, charged at a certain percentage on the rateable value of the property. So that is the rateable value. Now annuity. Now this annuity, as you know, annuity basically is a term which is derived from annual. So annuity is the annual periodic payments for repayments of the capital amount invested by a party. That means we require certain capital amount, and that capital amount is to be returned. So that capital amount, how do we return that capital amount? So it is through the annuity. Annuity is the annual periodic payments for repayments of the capital amount invested by a party. So annuity is either paid at the beginning or at end of each period of installment. So we have covered half of the terms today. Remaining terms we will discuss in the next lecture. Okay, so thank you for listening. Thank you.